So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, The Occult View. I know I haven't posted in a while. A couple of times I'd started making a video, then I got interrupted. Then a couple of times I just interrupted myself. I just said, I don't want to talk about this, you know? But I realized something as I was talking to the spirit. I realized something very, very interesting that people do not like to talk about. It is, I guess you can say, it's not socially acceptable to say it in the black community, but the black community is very toxic and very malignant. And nobody really likes to talk about that, how toxic and malignant the black community really is. And that's because the elders of yesteryear have died out, and the people that are in place as elders in the black community now, they don't carry the same wisdom and the same compassion and the same sternness. They don't, they just don't, they don't have that. We don't have that anymore. And that died off in my family a long time ago. And the people that we are left with are mentally disturbed crackheads, psychopaths, abusers, and spiritual narcissist. And I'm going to try not to apply specifics to these people, if you know what I mean. Because I realize now a lot of people lack emotional intelligence. And they don't just lack emotional intelligence, they lack spiritual discernment and they lack spiritual intelligence. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. I went and got my hair cut. I've been going to this barber for years. It's a female, black female. Never had an issue with her. I've always liked her. And my mistake in life has been is that I've always tried to give even the worst of the worst type of person. I've always tried to give them the benefit of the doubt without even knowing or realizing. The key word is without even realizing that they are the worst of the worst. You know, I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I've done it with my mother. I've done it with countless other people. When there were red flags all around, as long as those red flags weren't touching me, I figured that was their issue. But the fact of the matter is, there are certain people that I shouldn't even be socializing with. There are certain people that I shouldn't even be talking to. The barber. So I explained to her because she knows my mother. I explained to her the situation that happened between me and my mother, and I gave her some history on it as well. I am not a child. I'm not a child. I'm damn near 50-year-old fucking man. And I take care of myself. So certain things I don't have to tolerate. As a human being, there are things we don't have to tolerate. Abuse is one of them, whether it be verbal or physical or whatever context it may come in, whatever box it may come in, we don't have to put up with abuse. And I won't put up with abuse. That's not disrespectful saying I'm walking away from abuse. This woman in her mental disease, this woman who cut my hair, and of course, I didn't know. I gave her, once again, I give people the benefit of the doubt. But I realize she is mentally diseased as well. She's mentally diseased as well. And she lacks emotional intelligence, just like my mother does, who's also mentally diseased. Probably the crack. But anyway, she tells me that when I walked away from my mother in the store, when my mother was berating me that day and degrading me and creating a scene, I didn't curse my mother out. I didn't say anything. I walked away. I removed myself from that situation. And this woman who's cutting my hair, and the only reason she knows my mother is because she's a hairstylist for women and she's a barber and she cuts some good hair. But the only reason my mother even knows her is because I told my mother about her. I have helped my mother out with a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. She didn't raise me. She's been abusive towards me most of my life, emotionally and psychologically. She has wished death on me. But I put all of that aside and I still showed up. When she moved, me and my friend moved her into her apartment. When she couldn't go out to DMV by herself, not because there's anything physically wrong with her, but because my mother, she can sit up and talk shit to me. But when she had to go get her ID renewed, I had to go with her. And had I not gone with her, they would have sent her home and told her she didn't have the right information. But I spoke up for her. I spoke up. Holidays come around, I'm cooking, practically spending all my money, taking food and bringing dinner to her. But you all want to convince me that I'm a bad son? That I disrespected her because she was disrespecting me in the store and making a scene in front of a group of white people who were being rude, prejudiced, and racist. And one thing we know as black people, and this ain't no disrespect to white people, but one thing we know as black people, you don't berate and degrade your people in front of no white people. You don't do that. That's what colonizers used to do to slaves. They would get the biggest and the strongest slave and they would degrade him or her in front of other slaves as a humiliation ritual. And that's what my mother did to me. I walked out of the store. This woman, I'm trying not to call her a bitch because this happened the other day and I've really been pissed off about it. Because it's like nobody wants to understand where I'm coming from. But that's okay. I walk alone. I walk alone. And it's okay if people don't agree with me. But, bitch, you're not entitled to your own facts. And it is a fact that it is not disrespectful to walk away from a person who is abusing and disrespecting you. That is not disrespect. But narcissistic abusers, They defend other narcissistic abusers. So it put things in context for me. Spirit said, Seer, don't get upset. I just want you to see what you're dealing with in this world. I want you to see what you're dealing with in this world. Narcissistic abusers, a lot of them have a lot of connections to religion. And this person who cut my hair, like a lot, and she and I are in the same, practically in the same age bracket. She's Generation X as well. And I realized something. She is a Christian, and she was trying to covertly enforce her biblical beliefs onto me. So it was not coming from a place of, hey, listen, this is just my opinion. This was a covert attack using philosophies of the Bible. And I thought to myself, oh, okay. But then Spirit started sending people to tell me stuff. Then later on, after that day, I found out that this hairstylist, she had to sell her house, her and her husband, and move back in with her mother. And of course, she's claiming that she's moving back in with her mother to take care of her. She didn't tell me this. Somebody told me this later on that day. So I said, oh, her life is going down the tubes and she's bitter. She has a whole husband. She has a whole husband. And I guess the money isn't flowing the way that it should. So while she's telling me that I disrespected my mother from by walking away as a 46-year-old grown man, from walking away from her abuse, she's telling me that that's disrespect. But you and your husband just moved in with your mother to create a burden for her. You got a whole husband. And you mean to tell me your husband couldn't get you another house? Make that make sense. But you want to tell me that I disrespected my mother when I did not because I walked away. You're entitled to your own opinions, my dear, but you are not entitled to facts. And the fact of the matter is, it's not, and let me take the focus off of me. This is not just about me and my personal situation. This is what people like her are in the world, and they use covert functions of their religion to try to enforce you to be in a certain frequency. So she says to me, well, don't you think it's disrespectful if your partner walks away from you? If you're having an argument, that's your partner. My mother is not my partner. My mother is not my boyfriend or my girlfriend. She's my mother. So in her logic, if a man is staying, because we got to take it there. If a man is going back and forth with his wife, his girlfriend, whatever, going back and forth, I thought it was better for men to walk away versus going back and forth because what I was trying to do was de escalate the situation. I removed myself from the situation. What would she rather I done? Stand there and argue and curse my mother out and go back and forth with her? I don't do arguing with females very well. I can argue with another man, but arguing with females, I don't like doing that. That's not my forte. So I try to keep the peace with females as much as I can. But if you come at me verbally, I'm coming back at you. I'm not just going to stand there and let you curse me out and degrade and berate me. I'm coming back at you verbally. No, I didn't do that to my mother because that's my mother. I didn't do that. I just walked away. And I'm not going to make any fucking apologies for my actions because I did nothing wrong. Why would you tell somebody that that is disrespect if they walk away from someone who's arguing with them? Maybe in an intimate relationship that's disrespectful. Maybe. I don't know. I don't consider it disrespect because you don't want that to escalate to another level. So you mean to tell me, going back to my original question before I went off on this tangent, if a man and a woman who are in a relationship arguing, let's use this example. If they are arguing and the man is being, since this is what people understand better, if a man is being abusive verbally and psychologically, according to her logic, the woman is supposed to just stand there and take it. It would be disrespectful if the woman walked away because she used the analogy of, well, what if your partner was arguing with you or you had it and you all were you don't think it's disrespectful to walk away? No, I don't. Especially if the partner is being verbally abusive. Nobody has to put up with verbal or psychological abuse, but we are under the energy of the colonizer in the Black community. And that is why I say the Black community is toxic and it's malignant. Because that day that my mother berated me, she took on the energy of the colonizer. That's who she is anyway. She took on the energy of the colonizer, the racist colonizers. And you bitches think that I'm supposed to go back to that? And when I say you bitches, I'm not talking about a woman, I'm talking about society in general. You expect people, and let's take race out of the equation. You expect people to be silent about abuse, not to speak up about abuse, no matter what context it's in. You expect people to just be quiet, don't say anything. It doesn't have to be a mother child or relationship. I'm talking about across the board. This is an issue. There's a malignancy and a toxicity that has engulfed this planet. And if you're not spiritually grounded, it will engulf you. That's why that hairdresser, that's why she's losing so much now. That's why she had to move back with her mother with her husband. But she don't know I know that. See how spirit will bring you information about people who try to sit up on their high horse and tell you what you should be doing? Well, honey, how come your husband ain't grounded enough that he can't get you another home? Let's be honest. She got a whole husband and he is not providing for her the way that he should. She let me know enough about her And she lets me know that she is in that same toxic network as my mother. There's a difference between having an opinion, and there is a difference in covertly trying to prejudge people. And she was trying to covertly prejudge me based upon her own toxicity and based upon her own inner conflicts, probably with her own children, and probably with the unhappiness that she has right now with her husband. So when she tried to prejudge me about walking away from my mother's abuse in that store that day, what she really did was she opened herself up for me to read her. Because Spirit said, don't get upset, just read her. She's argumentative, I see. I didn't see these things before about her, and I've been going to her for years. Now, she's not argumentative and combative with me, but she's argumentative, she's combative, she's abusive, and she's toxic. Is that why your husband is having strokes and heart attacks? And he's barely 50? Is that why? Because of you? So sometimes, I always like to turn mess into a message. Sometimes it's best to let people show how foolish and emotionally unintelligent they really are. So you can see the network of these people. I saw the possession inside of her. That woman is possessed. That's why she ended up having to sell her home and had to move back with her mother. Uh huh. See, we're living in the age now where people are being exposed spiritually. Spirit is exposing people. Spirit is exposing people. The universe is exposing people. They're exposing who they really are. And it may be uncomfortable. And we're going into certain, moon phases right now, and planetary alignments are taking place right now. And it is exposing the people that need to be exposed. It's exposing their demons. It's exposing who these people really are. And that's why I said there's a lot of toxicity and malignancy in the Black community, and I'm going to stand on it. And it's not just the Black community, but I'm Black, so that's why I'm saying that, because I understand this so called Black experience. That's just like what's her name? Anne Burrell. She was a chef. Everybody loved her. And she passed away suddenly. And do you know that these psychopathic conspiracy theorists online are trying to connect her death to the thing that happened in 2020? That thing that everybody was getting sick from, that thing. They're saying that she got the thing in her arm. You know what I'm talking about. A couple of them or 8 of them. And they're trying to associate that with why she died. Here is my thing with it. And see, this is why I say I was arguing with people online all day, practically yesterday, about that. Because it doesn't matter how she died. The fact of the matter is, she died. And she was only 55 years old. And it was tragic. That's a tragedy. But they wanted to politicize this and make it into, did she get the what they call the jab? Did she get the, her family has not even had a chance to process what happened to her. And you have these psychopaths online attacking people. None of them said, I didn't hear any of them say, I'm sorry for your loss to the family. None of them said that. They were so busy trying to prove that the reason that she passed away was because she got the jab 8 times. And I'm not here, and I'm not saying that that wasn't a cause. I'm not saying that it wasn't. What I'm saying is this, it's a respect thing. It is disrespect. Dang, I didn't turn the ice maker off. I'll be right back. Let me turn my ice maker off. Damn, I left that on all night. The ice probably overflowing. I still hear it going. Give me 1 second. But my point is, it's disrespectful to her family for people to be speculating how she passed away like that because it was tragically, because she was 55. Damn, I got enough ice in there to last me until doomsday. And y'all know it's going to be hot this weekend. Anyway, so that's why I go back to people are so toxic and malignant that they don't even have any compassion for a person who just passed away. And then they were making derogatory statements about the lady, saying, "Well, she was a crazy leftist Libby." So just being derogatory, but missing the fact that this woman is dead. And at this point, I don't think her family, of course, they care how she died, but it's the fact that she died. And you want to get on here and you want to politicize it. One thing about me is that I'm not going to prove to anybody. You can love me, you can like me, you can hate me, or it can be somewhere in the middle. And like can be in the middle. I will never chase love. I will never chase and beg somebody to like me. I don't care who it is. And I just feel like sometimes people in this world, they don't want you to tell your story about what you've been through because somehow that causes them that forces them, excuse me, to look at themselves. I am a Scorpio rising. And Scorpio risings, and I'm being a little, whatever, because I don't normally follow that, but Scorpio risings, from what I understand, Scorpio risings, I thought I got a text on my phone, but Scorpio risings, we promote change in people. We force people to look at the darker aspects of themselves. We promote transformation and change. And when we come into a situation, we automatically, not force, I don't want to use the word force, but we kind of um, give off a vibe that makes people want to look at themselves. And sometimes when you do that, we make people uncomfortable. We make people uncomfortable because it kind of makes people, it forces people, not that we force them, but it forces people to look at themselves. And sometimes when people look at themselves, they don't like what they see in that reflection. And I'm not talking about physical aesthetics, I'm talking about the spiritual. Everybody has their own demons that they have to deal with. And if you don't, and I've said this throughout the years, if you don't deal with your personal demons, they will deal with you. Everybody has their own personal demons to deal with. You do, I do, the world does. But the problem is, people don't know how to deal with their own personal demons. They think the solution is religion. So going back to this hairdresser slash barber, who I like, I patronize her business because I believe in patronizing black females' businesses. I believe in that. But going back to her and her toxicity, going back to her, she's a prime example of a person that does not know how to deal with her demons. And by me being a Scorpio rising, we bring in the vibe of making people look at their demons. And we force people in a way, I have to use the word force, but I don't mean, when I say force, I mean covertly. I don't mean overtly, but there's a vibe that we give off that forces people to take a look deep within who they really are. So that conversation that I had with that hairstylist, it really had nothing to do with my mother. She was reflecting on the fact that she's married to a man who can't take care of her, basically. You didn't had to move back in with your mama. You 50 years old, moving back in with your mama and your husband, and now you're trying to project your issues onto me. And a lot of times, that's what people do to Scorpio rising people. They try to project their issues onto us. Well, I'm telling you right motherfucking now, you ain't projecting shit onto me because I'm going to send it back to you. I'm going to send it back to you. And I don't have to do much to do it. I am not a victim. I am a victor. I'm just aware of the toxicity and the toxic patterns within human nature. And within studying human nature, not by going to a college, but by being out here in the real world, getting your hands dirty in it, that's part of occultism too. Occultism, not a cult. Because these people that I'm talking about, they're in a I guess you can say a covert cult. They're in a cult, a network cult of toxicity. And if you notice, people like that oftentimes end up turning on each other. That is why I say I walk alone. So I don't expect people to really agree with me because when I open up my mouth, it makes people uncomfortable. And it makes them uncomfortable because it forces them to look at themselves in a way that they never have. That is why me and my mother are always in conflict, because my mother does not like looking at herself. And the reflection that she sees, she doesn't like. I'm not talking about physical aesthetics, I'm talking about spiritual aesthetics. When you peel back the layers of who and what you really are, and what's really motivating you in the physical. So, what do? They lash out, they attack you, they tell you that you're the problem. And I'm going to say this, you have to be careful. You have to be careful if you are a person that is, let's just say spiritually grounded and aware, like I am, because I know that there are other people out there that are like that. You have to be careful who you share spaces with. You have to be careful who you even talk to. I don't want to share spaces with everybody anymore. And I don't want to talk to everybody anymore. I don't. I don't. I find, I told you this is the age of exposing, even myself. I'm finding the more I expose myself, the more I find that I am more peaceful and I am more happiest when I am left to my own devices. I'm not saying that people don't need people. I'm not saying that I want to be alone. But in the words of the late great Greta Garbo, I want to be left alone. That's what I'm talking about. I want to be left alone. I don't want to be alone, but I want to be left alone because people just don't understand me. They don't understand me, most people. They don't understand me. And then it turns into, if they can't force me to submit to their psychology and ritual of religion, even if it's not an official religion, like the religion that you have to respect people who disrespect you, especially parents, that you have to honor people that dishonor you. When you give them pushback on that, you become a problem. Because again, going back to colonizers, it was the colonizers who taught Black people that you have to love your abusers, that you have to love and respect the people that violate you, that abuse you, that misuse you. You have to love those people. And then they made it into a religion when they put it in the Bible. The part about slaves obeying their masters. And I know people can break that scripture down and do all that. I get it, but it's there. It's there. And then the part about honoring your mother and father, but then they ignore the other part that says parents, do not provoke your children to wrath. And that's all that these parents do under the energy of colonization, under being a colonizer. And then you wonder why it is so easy for racist groups to attack Black people the way that they do. You wonder why it's so easy, because we have our parents, we have our family, we have our community all coming at us with the same type of spell work. But we're not supposed to say anything. These are the same types of people that will sit back and watch a woman and her children be victimized, attacked, abused, misused, and they'll tell that woman, oh, well, it's your fault because you spoke up about it. And a lot of times it's other women that say shit like that, just keeping it real. So, no, I will not be silent. No, it is not disrespectful to walk away from an abuser, and a narcissistic abuser at that. And I don't give a fuck who it is. This isn't anger, this is passion. And I'm glad I got this off my chest, because it's been sitting on my chest for the past couple of days. And I'm glad I got it off. This is your host, The Occult View. And I hope everyone has a productive, happy day. And remember, say no to narcissistic, spiritual, psychotic abuse, no matter who it comes from. You have the right to walk away. It's not disrespectful, it is not dishonoring. If you stay in it, you're dishonoring yourself and you're dishonoring your ancestors, because our ancestors did not die for our people to abuse us the way the colonizers did. That we're supposed to be better than that. And you can like it, you can love it, you can do whatever. But that's my spiritual message for today. Thank you.